This is Flint, and you're listening to G.I. Joe Chronicles.
The LONGBOX CRUSADE presents
G.I. Joe Chronicles.
Don't they realize they're dealing with Destro?
When I'm through Stunt Bucket, they're gonna scrape you off the walls with a squeegee.
Now stop sputtering like a wet toaster and get busy!
Welcome to G.I. Joe Chronicles. I'm one of your commanders, Pat Sampson, codename DJ Kristatos. And joining me, as always, is my battle buddy in this operation, Jarrod, codename Death Pro.
That is a prescription for danger.
Oh, hey, Pat. Oof. I am cold. I just went to Orsted's cold weather training where...
I can see. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Mike gave us like a pair of boxer shorts and some socks and...
What kind of design were on your boxer shorts?
Tie-dye.
Could give you.
It's their tie-dye. You knew they were tie-dye before you asked the question.
So he's giving me camo.
Yeah.
And it's just tie-dye.
Tie-dye. Yeah, there's a real theme going on.
Yeah.
Anyways, that is DJ Kristatos and all the green shirts tuning in for this podcast. I want to welcome everyone back to Fort Longbox. Of course, we appreciate you tuning in to talk G.I. Joe with us. And we're chronicling our way through G.I. Joe Special Missions by Marvel on this episode. Next episode, we'll return to our coverage of G.I. Joe America's Elite. But for this episode, we are back in the glorious 80s, and we're talking about G.I. Joe Special Missions, which, as you may remember, was launched in 1986. On this episode of G.I. Joe Chronicles, DJ Kristatos and I are going to rotate in a special ops guest. And we have the dynamic duo. We have the Paissos. We have Serpy Matt. We have Cross Country's Girl. They're all back in full attack mode. Welcome, you guys. Welcome back to Fort Longbox. It felt like you guys were just here.
It always feels that way.
It's kind of like work. We just left.
Well, we appreciate you putting in just a little more work. On the last episode, I promised we would come back and get to know Lissy a little more about her 3 favorite vehicles. And Matt, I know you've answered this one before because you've been on the show before. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get Lizzie to name her 3 favorite vehicles, and then you get to come back with one more vehicle you didn't get to put on last time and one more Joe you didn't get to put on your list last time you were here. So be thinking about like those next tier ones that you kind of like. But let's go to Lizzie and get her 3 favorite vehicles.
Obviously, the Havoc is a gimme.
I kind of thought maybe.
Although whoever designed that was kind of in the stupidity about, putting the driver right up on top in the line of fire. So my second favorite is a trouble bubble because I would really love one of those to go to work with. And then my third one has to be, and not too many people know about this vehicle because it exists in my mind, is Cross Country's vintage Bronco.
Nice. She grabbed one from the one that exists in her mind. Because she writes backstories for all this stuff, just to remind our listening audience. All right, Matt, I promised you could bring a bonus Joe and a bonus vehicle, or Cobra, a bonus character, because I know you like the Cobras, that you didn't get to bring when you were on the show, a year ago, something like that, and a vehicle that you didn't get before. So what would you like to add to your pantheon of cool stuff?
Obviously, not a Joe, not a Cobra, not a Dreadnought.
It's Cobra Law. It's got to be Cobra
Law. And it's going to be Pythona.
Nice. Okay.
I have the one Pythona figure that exists right now.
I was going to say, I don't remember when they first released that, she didn't get a figure, but they did one maybe was it a collector's club or something later on?
Yeah, it was the subscription service, and basically that's the only one I own from...
Man, I don't think I've ever seen one in real life.
You can't have mine. Sorry.
Oh, you saw where I was going with that. Okay. Well,
yes.
What about vehicles?
Yeah, we're going to nip that in the bud. For me, then I do go Joe with a lot of my vehicles. I really like the pulverizer tank.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no one talks about the pulverizer a lot.
It's one I had as a kid. Those are the ones that stand out to me. Like last time I talked about the Swamp Smasher, the pulverizer. I like the oddball vehicles from the mid-'80s.
I dig it, man.
Who was the driver on the pulverizer, hun?
Oh, I can't remember his name. I'd have to look it up. You know what? I even named the wrong vehicle.
Well, I'm looking at the pulverizer. I don't think it came with a driver.
No, I meant the Persuader.
Starts with a P.
I meant the Persuader, and the driver was Backstop.
Who?
Oh, Backstop. Okay, yeah. Man, you do like the...
That was on me. I was like looking up there. I'm like, I know it starts with a P.
No, that's all right.
And memory failed me. It just went for the other P tank.
They're not terribly dissimilar.
No.
The two vehicles are not terrible. Persuader's a bit bigger than the Pulver.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And he was Canadian. So.
Okay, no, I dig it. I like the obscure stuff. I do. Speaking of obscure stuff, let's hand it over to my obscure co-host and let him do the intelligence report.
Good one, Jarrod. Good one. And for this mission, we will be covering G.I. Joe Special Missions number 6. Publisher was Marvel. Its cover date was August 1987. Writer was Larry Hama. Penciler, Herb Trimpe. Inker is Herb Trimpe. Colorist is Bob Sharon. Letterer is Phil Felix. And cover art goes to Mike Zick. Zick. Yeah, Jack. And speaking about the cover, let's go ahead and go to Death Probe. Please take us through that cover description.
Can do, Pat. The standard 1980s G.I. Joe logo is still smaller across the top, making room for those large block letters with white with black highlights that say Special Missions. Duke stands in the blue corner box. The main action depicts a nervous Outback, half buried in the snow, trying not to get noticed by the Borovian soldiers perched on the ledge directly above his position. That's a pretty short description, but if you know Special Missions, you have the perfect mental image of it. I've seen this cover homaged in other forms, and it's a great one. But hey, that's not my job to talk about that. My job is to hand it back to Pat.
Thank you, Jarrod. And you are totally right. So let's go ahead and find out what our guests thought about this cover. And we will start with Matt. What's your thoughts on this cover?
Oh, we have a chilly night for Outback. That's my thoughts on this cover. He is not prepared for the snow. I like the 80s covers. I like the design. You sing his praises all the time. When it's Mike Zeck, you cannot go wrong.
True.
You can definitely not go wrong. You're right.
And for me, it's like the little details, like the foot sticking out of the snow. And so we know the snowfall is going. We can see the snow coming over the edge. And I'm like, Outback might want to hold his breath. He's going to give himself away there.
Yeah, that little stream of breath makes you even more nervous that he's going to get slotted.
Yes, it does.
It sells it so good.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and go to Lizzie. What do you think of this issue?
I think the cover is clickbait. And let me tell you why. Because this little scene in the cover does not show up on the inside.
You fell for one of the greatest tropes that comic covers have come to.
This is the story you want to read in this thread, but we're not going to put it in there, and you're going to read 40 other things. But other than that, it's your classic G.I. Joe Special Missions cover. I kind of like how he even remembered to kind of make the arms of Outback just a little bit red, like he's getting a little maybe frostbitten. He had a coat the whole bloody time inside. So, this is one of those, oh my God, I got to read this to find out what happens. And it's like, wait a minute, they never did that. But other than that, it's in my time zone. I love it.
All right. This one is an iconic one for us old-time Joe fans. When you see this issue, you know what's going to happen in it. Definitely a favorite of mine when I see this one. Jarrod, what's your thoughts?
I love it. My favorite detail is the one that Matt pointed out with the breath coming out from her, because it just makes you worry a little bit more because they don't have breaths. Only he does. And the snowfall is great. And again, they play with a little bit of the 2.5D by putting the Borovian commander dude. His head is actually over.
I like that.
The logo that gives it a little more push, a little more pop. Great catch by Lissy on the colorist, adding the red tint. You know how you get reddish when you're out in the cold like that? I've probably looked at this cover 100 times and never picked that up. So that's a great catch. Look at you. I will be Key Rock. I'll be the unfrozen caveman lawyer, which works a little bit well with this frozen instance, and say, did this specifically happen? No, but it came close. because he used the jacket to make the fake snowman, and so he had to be cold and he was hidden. But in this exact moment, I will have to agree with Lizzie, though. This needed to happen. Like that perch tension moment, you could almost hear like John Barry's score with just a dee on the violin. Dee.
Yeah, just silence and just
the one note. Dee.
Yeah.
Oh man,
but Your Honor, could we really put a dead chicken on the cover of a G.I. Joe comic book?
I'm just a caveman. I don't.
I'm a super caveman. I don't understand these things.
Yes, this is one of the issues that makes good use of dead chicken.
But actually, the scene we got inside was even better because he was just in his undies.
He was just as I was with Orsted's cold weather training earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
Then I realized that Orsted didn't even know where we were.
He didn't even show up. He just left you out there in the cold weather.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with the cover talk out of the way, let's go ahead and score our thoughts on this cover. How we do that here is a cover scale of 1 to 10 flag points. 1 meaning you didn't like it at all, and 10 meaning it's perfect. You should make this a recruiting poster for Orsted's outdoor training, winter survival. We'll go ahead and start with Lizzie. What's your cover rating?
It gets a solid 9. The only reason it doesn't get a 10 is because that picture's not on the inside.
All right. She's feeling a little bit against that comic book trope. She fell for it, or she's not falling for it, and she's not going to click on that. Matt, are you clicking on it?
So for me with this cover, Outback's not one of my big characters, but this is a great cover. I would give it a 9 also.
All right. You're at a 9. Well, I'm going to bump this one up from you guys' 9 and make it a 10.
Yo, Joe!
And I would make it an 11 if it came with a blooming onion.
This is Outback.
Oh, yeah. It is Outback. If it came with a blooming onion, oh, man. That would warm that image up.
Well, Pat, there's no rules, so you might as well go for it.
Because that's their slogan.
It needs Alice Springs chicken, actually.
That's my favorite dish to order. You guys are hitting all the highlights for me.
Jarrod, what's on your comic rating?
This one fosters a high score with me. Did the Foster's joke land with anybody? It's the Australia.
I did. Oh, that's a beer in Australia.
Anyway, I'm gonna have to join two cool guys on Cool Guys Island here and give it the full 10.
Yo, Joe!
Because again, that's gonna happen. I think I mentioned this on previous episodes. If I can just straight up remember the cover, like just remember every bit of it off the top of my head, aside from the red skin coloring, which I learned about today, I'm probably gonna give it a 10. And this is definitely one of those. 10 for me, Pat.
All right, two cool guys coming in at 10 and two chumps at a 9. Well, pretty good chumps at a 9.
You gotta remember, Lissy hasn't listened to all of our shows. She's gonna take.
But she said she's going back. She said she's going back to listen to them, so she'll get it when she comes back around. And because Matt said he just chatted me. He just texted me and said, "Don't worry, Pat. I'm gonna play this in the car. I'm gonna play it in the house. We're gonna just play it everywhere."
Better than the X-Men Explained.
We'll take it. I don't know.
All right. Well, with the cover out of the way, let's go back to Death Probe for the story synopsis in our mission brief.
Got you covered, Pat. This issue of G.I. Joe Special Missions is actually continued from the regular G.I. Joe Real American Hero line, issue number 61. Stalker, Snowjob, and Quick Kick have been captured by the Borovian soldiers, but Outback managed to escape through the sewer systems, even though the dastardly Colonel Ratnikov filled the sewers with gasoline and blew them all out. Outback knows that if he doesn't survive and escape, his fellow Joes will never be found, so he goes all in, buying a truck and a chicken from a local farmer. He escapes into the mountains and sets a clever ruse to entice the Colonel to land his search chopper. Once he's hijacked the chopper, Outback escapes to friendly territory, and the friendlies also blow Colonel Ratnikov's chopper out of the sky.
Now, back to G.I. Joe.
Okay, you guys know the deal. We're going to do 2 rounds of highs and lows and what does. And this time, because of her pure enthusiasm for this, we're going to go with Lissy. Round 1, what do you got?
So here comes the absolute nerd in me. On page 7, Now, I haven't read this for years. Then Matt got it out so we could read it. And by the way, we just completed our special missions run. We have all of them. So go us.
Ooh, congratulations.
Page 7, after he fills the sewer with gas, the creepy guy with the glasses, or his crony throws a match down there, and all of a sudden you see all the sewer manhole covers go whoop, right? I'm sorry. I can suspend a lot of things, but when the Mythbusters bust something, that ain't happening unless they had the absolute perfect mix of gas and air and stuff. Gasoline doesn't do that. It just burns. It doesn't poof. So that's my wetta in this whole thing. But nice. I did like the thing about on page 6 where the rats are running and he's like, yuck. That reminded me of Indiana Jones when they were in the sewers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Last Crusade.
Yes. But other than that, this was just your classic, we've got people in trouble. What do we do type of thing. And I just love the way he completely tricked them and grabbed the chopper and flew, and then got them blew up. So, but the only other what that I have about it, and this is something I've always had with the Joes, they're undercover in enemy territory in their freaking uniforms, which are not really uniforms. Sticking out like a sore thumb. Guys, use your brains.
Especially you, Quick Kick. That's an odd choice. All right, lots of unloaded enthusiasm except for myth-busted sewer explosions. So we will take that and we will shift it over to Mr. Matt.
I didn't have a ton of notes on this one, but I kind of liked the Borovians, how they were like, we got to get these guys. There's one got away. What are we going to do? And you have the one really nervous, I don't know if he's an officer or just a trooper. I imagine he's just a trooper the way they're basically leading him in as cannon fodder. And he's like, go down there. He's like, well, what if he shoots first? No, then you'll know where he is.
Classic leadership techniques I was talking about.
Well, that's cold, but okay. That's one thing I love about Hamma's writing is like, sometimes it's like super deep, super dense. And sometimes it's like, nope, this guy's a jerk. It gets right to the point. Here, you're a cog in the machine. Go do what I said.
You're right. Sometimes we get like Larry's deep thoughts and meaningful experiences in the military. And sometimes he's like, I remember this one guy was a turd. I'm going to stick it to him in this issue.
Yes. And that's the great thing about it. It's like some of the Joe stories read deep, but then some of them 100% read just like an 80s action movie. And that's the great dichotomy.
Yes, you're right. All right, Pat, you've waited patiently. Do your thing. Actually, this is just round 1. So do your quasi reined in thing, and then we'll.
This is just, again, an iconic issue that once I opened it up, I'm like, okay, I know the story. I know where it's going to go. But it was so good that I just wanted to continue to, read through it again and just soak in those memories of reading it as a kid and just enjoying it. And what I enjoyed is that we actually see some continuous story that's going on with the normal run of
it's
Marvel.
The first time they connect.
I love that because you can see, what was happening in the main storyline. Now you get to single it out and go a little bit smaller into, this team that was sent in to extract Snake Eyes and Scarlet and that to go and get them. And then what happens to them. So I love this one. It's just so much fun and kind of like a cat and a mouse in this story that was fun.
I had mixed feelings about that because to me, I like special missions because they're one-off, one and done.
Yeah.
And Open Distance like, this comes, if issue 61 comes around, I'm like, okay, well, let me read 61. And then I finish it. I'm like, well, wait, the guys are still, now I got to read more issues of Joe. And then I got irritated and I went, wait, I'm getting to read more issues of Joe. I shouldn't be irritated about that. That's fine.
Yeah.
So
see, you're coming from it. So somebody reading later on, this was my jam. This was my peanut butter and jelly. I was in the trenches and I felt like I was in the trenches with them during this one. Cause you had that story going on in G.I. Joe. And now you had this with special missions, and it just is like, oh man, two great things together happening here.
I distinctly remember when I was reading this way back when, going, oh, no. This is not going to happen. But then I know this does happen in that world that we don't normally see on the top of military. But still, I was like, I need the next episode now.
Yeah. I know. I was like, I got to know. And you had to wait a month or more. It's like, oh, man.
Well, I definitely agree about the split. It's like, on one hand, I do like my one-off special missions where we get to focus on a character, but it's also kind of neat to expand the broader story. And I feel like Larry almost got to do both here. My impression was Outback was just introduced in G.I. Joe 59, I think. So he was in 59, 60, 61, and then this. It kind of felt to me like Larry was like, I like this new guy, and I want to give him just one more little moment and use my special missions to do that. So, yeah, I'm definitely split. Definitely enjoy the solo missions, but not too mad about the continuations. And as we're rereading these, this is me rereading them for the first time since the 80s.
Okay.
So I don't know how many more continuations there are going to be versus one-off. So we'll find out together, I guess, as we go along the show. I'm not sure how much more often they do that, but we'll find out. Okay, we got another round just in case you have some more left in the tank. Any other comments on this one, Lissy?
I'm sorry the chicken died, but I understand why. The stories that I remember loving so much back then when I was young and a teenager. So just a little side note, I was in high school when all this was going on, and not too many high school girls were reading G.I. Joe, but I hated the My Little Pony, the Strawberry Shortcake, the Smurfs. Those were just like too cutesy. And I really liked this stuff. And I was the coolest babysitter on the block, by the way. I remember watching all the cartoons. We had one of the very first VCRs, so I was taping all the cartoons. I still have a tape somewhere underneath the bed full of G.I. Joe cartoons. This is not my favorite special missions. My favorite special missions is with Lowlight. So I don't know if that's earlier or after this one.
It's in about 2 issues from now. I know there's one with Beachhead Lowlight on the cover.
Get ready for a ride. It's really, really good. But this is one of my faves because of the suspense and where your imagination could go if it all went wrong. And, you just see the 3 that were left behind languishing in some gulag somewhere until they rescue them.
Good point. This one definitely had a good amount of high stakes. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. Matt, pick it up from there, my friend.
Yeah, and that was the thing that I mentioned, like, oh no, I have to read more G.I. Joe. Oh, I could read more G.I. Joe. And it was like literally the next 4 or 5 issues of the main line was the conclusion of this storyline. And I wanted to go into that, but I'm like, nope, that's not this issue. Just talk about this issue. One thing that really kind of threw me for a bit, and it made me wonder when he came out, I almost felt like Tunnel Rat could have been used instead of Outback for this one. And that may have just been with the sewers and all, but
yeah, maybe so, yeah.
But then I was like, okay, well, had Tunnel Rat come out yet? Yeah, he was, I think, in issue 59 too. I think maybe same as Outback. So I'm like, why didn't they? Well, whatever. That wasn't my decision.
I think the reason why Outback was used is because of his survivor skills. So he's off and left to, hey, you're on your own in this country all by yourself.
Yeah.
Only you can get out of here.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. Like Lissy was saying, I really did appreciate his like getting away and the steps he had to take and all that and dressing up as this and dressing that. Like he literally cosplayed the America's Elite Shipwreck at one point. And then he kind of went. And he went full Chuck Norris, and it was just like, nope, Outback is now Chuck Norris. Making everyone planes, getting them shot down, diving out, capture me, and bring me back to the American consulate. Okay, sure, yep.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. What about you, Pat? This is your moment. Get all out.
This is my moment. I thought this was very good, but on the kind of bad guy side. I really liked this colonel because he was very intelligent and very detective-y-ish, or just kind of knew some of the stuff that could possibly be like, where is he going to be? Well, he can't be anywhere besides in this, this manhole because there's no other place around. Just some of the stuff he was doing to try to deduce what has happened. I thought it was very good. And I liked that guy. I liked his investigativeness, I guess I should say. That kind of gave me like a Sherlock Holmes kind of vibe to him, just on how he was kind of deducing stuff like that. Granted, he got duped at the end, but I think that's what made it even better is like, oh, this guy's super, super smart, thinks he knows everything, and then finally gets duped by, hey, I'm going to go out at midnight, but my mom's not going to get me. I'm going to hide under the cover and stuff my pillows there and crawl out the window.
I like he was like you were saying to the point. It wasn't just the sewer thing. It was like, well, he won't go to Russia, I think was what he said, and he won't go here. He's got to go this one way. Close that border off.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. This is just a fun little Outback story, really, and it just ties in nicely with that overarching story that's going on with Joe about these poor guys stuck in Borovia, and it's very, very entertaining. But with all that being said, it's time to hand it back to DJ Kristatos and get that IG's report on the combat readiness of this issue.
And for those of you who don't speak military, that means we're going to score this issue story on the same 1 to 10 flag points we used earlier on to do the cover. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, Matt, how would you rate this story?
Initially, when I first read this one, I gave it a 7. That was out of my annoyance that it wasn't a one-off.
Okay.
But after finishing it out and I'm going to bump this one up to an 8. I would give the story an 8 overall.
All right. That seems fair enough. Lizzie?
No, actually, I'm at a 9.
Ooh.
The only reason why it doesn't get 10 is that my boy's not in it.
Definitely understandable. Jarrod, 8, 9, where are you at?
I think I'll join Lissy at a 9. I think this is a strong one. Again, these stories are a little simpler, but that's kind of half the fun.
It is. Definitely half the fun and half knowing what the battle is. Definitely. Trying to figure that one out.
Yeah, I like how you reworded that.
Yes. Tried my best there. Anyway, like it was predicted in the previous episode, make sure you go check that out. I am going to be at a 9 as well. So it's 3 cool peoples. 3 cool peoples that are at a 9 and 1 chump at an 8. But a good chump.
I'll just sit here with the dead chicken. R.I.P. chicken.
With the rating of the issue out of the way, let's go ahead and find out who either gets a Silver Star medal for gallantry in action or a Silver Snake for sneaky snakytude. Or let's go ahead and give out an Orsted aluminum medal for stupidity. We'll start with Lizzie. Where are you going to give?
It's a Silver Star, and it goes to Outback, obviously, because he survived, he got out, but also it is crappy having to leave your buds behind.
True.
So he had to make a tough decision, and he made it, and he went with it.
But I would say his other team members, they knew, and the colonel knew too, that they were buying time for him to get out. Good on them as well, too, for knowing that they needed to buy him some time. Matt.
Spoilers for almost 40-year-old comics now. That gets dealt with in the next issues of G.I. Joe, and it's done really well.
Yeah, it does.
So for my Silver Star, I'm not going to give it to Outback. I'm actually going to give it to Stalker for buying time to let Outback get away. I was sitting there, I'm like, yeah, Outback. Yeah, this is all Outback. I'm like, but what set Outback up to be able to get away? Stalker just, hey, I got to do what I got to do to let my man get away and get the rest of us out of here, hopefully.
Yeah, so you decided to take the beat down. Jarrod, I did see you kind of wince there.
Yes, because it was going to be Stalker. As you know, I even shared a picture of that panel with our LBC chat group. Because, he literally takes a beating to help buy some time. And then he utters this wonderful line. Is that the best you can do, sissy boy? That was chump.
Chump.
Called him a chump. You want me to talk? You got to start hitting like the big boys do. So now.
Hey, in 86, that was trash talking.
That was harsh, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And I love how he just takes the punch. He's got a cut on his face. He's bleeding. And all he's doing is trying to fire this guy up and get his goat just to buy Outback more time. And the colonel even mentions about this time-honored technique of that they're beating you up, just enraging them to the point where they knock you out. Because if you're knocked out, you can't give any information.
Made sense. Yeah, definitely made sense.
So, I got to give it to Stalker.
All right. 2 cool guys and a Stalker.
2 cool guys on Stalker.
That'll leave just me, and I am going to go all by myself in Sneaky Stinky Land.
Oh, Colonel Ratnikoff.
Oh, Colonel Ratnikoff. Yes, I really enjoyed his trying to figure all this out. I thought it was very good.
His rattiness.
Yes, his ratting, his sneaky stinkiness, and to figure this all out.
His colonelness.
His colonel.
He's like the bad guy version of Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive. You know?
He's almost like, if he wouldn't have been so power, he was kind of like,
I
gotta get this guy so I can get the glory. Yeah. And that was his undoing.
Definitely was. But I think he did a good job. With that, that's going to lead us to the end of the issue. So we will go ahead and move into a segment we call Death Probe's Toy Chest. Jarrod, what's in your toy chest today?
It's here, the G.I. Joe collection, each sold separately. G.I. Joe from Hasbro.
Well, Pat, here in this segment, I'm going to take something or someone featured this issue and give you a brief toy history on it. For this issue, I have selected, of course, Outback.
Take a good look. It's the Cobra Pogo.
Joe's got trouble. He's got it bad. Pogo's got a pogo and it's up and bad.
Pogo's loaded for action.
It's the new Cobra Commander, Cobra!
But Joe's coming back with the G.I. Joe Slam.
On the run for good. G.I. Joe Slam.
It's Outback and Crusadeland.
It's got a 4-cannon gun that can swivel to face the enemy.
G.I. Joe, American hero.
Live the adventure of G.I. Joe. Cobra Pogo, G.I. Joe Slam, and figures sold separately.
Go, Joe!
Outback's real name is Stuart R. Selkirk. He's from Big Piney, Wyoming. He was introduced in Series 6 in 1987, discontinued in 1989. Although leftover Hasbro stock of this figure was packaged with new accessories and sold at the 1992 G.I. Joe convention. Figure description is red hair and beard with a green bandana, a white t-shirt that says survival on it, black gloves, camo pants, and black boots. Sometimes he just wears boxers and socks. His accessories include a brown web belt, a brown backpack, a black rifle, a green flashlight, and a dead chicken. The last one's not true. As of the time of this recording, which is August of 2024, there are currently 10 versions of Outback. Around the room, find out if we had them. We'll start with you, Pat.
I did not have an Outback. Sad to say, but you know what? I think this would be a guy I would want to go and get.
All right, let's go to Lissy. Does she have, because we've determined they have their own separate collections. Is this in your collection, Lizzie?
I do not have this in my collection, but I do believe my brother had him at the time when he came out. So by proxy, yeah, I had him.
Nice. Matt.
I did not have Outback growing up, and this invisible block of no Outback is the Outback I have right now. He's not high on my list of figures because all the accessories are hard to get, and I didn't have him as a kid, so I didn't really have a connection to him. I'm sure I'll try to track one down eventually, but he's not on my short list.
I gotcha. And much like last episode, we talked about Xandar. I feel like I had one, but I also feel like I probably traded for him or picked him up in the secondary market. No, I didn't steal him, Pat. So, yeah, I picked one up along the way somewhere in my youth.
But it always cracked me up that, like, when you see, like, oh, there were 10 versions of him. All right, there's easy usable parts for him that they can use in multiple people, so they keep him in circulation.
Yeah, he's been around. And with that, I will hand it back to Pat.
Next up is our feedback segment called Combat Comms.
Call it G.I. Joe! Go get Breaker! He can do it!
As always, we'll start off Combat Comms with our roster of our battle-hardened Crusader Club veterans. These are the fine folks that have joined our Crusader Club. They enjoy early access to special LONGBOX video episodes, early live recordings as we record episodes live, free raffle giveaways, voting on show programming, and so much more. So these are the folks reaping that benefit and enjoying some much appreciated support to the show.
Alan W. Wright.
And Helica Wolf.
Auburn Elvis.
Bill Beer.
Billy D.
Bradley DeLoe.
Braxton Underwood.
Clinton Basement Robinson.
Captain Entropy.
Clark Westfield.
Dave Collins, codename Battle Wagon.
Battle Wagon.
Eric Hodges.
Eric Porter.
Ezra Gallo.
Gary V.
Gene Hendricks.
Gerald Green.
Heinz K.
Jason Keene.
Jason Lady.
Jeff Polier.
Jeremy L.
Jim Jarman. I hope you like Jim Jarman too.
With some Jim Meal.
Joe Man Conan.
Joe Thomas.
John Watson.
Josh Strickland.
Candace Ward.
Kathy Bright, the MVP.
Hey, I know these people. That's Matt and Lissy Paisso.
Hey, that's us.
Mark Ross.
Maxwell Traver.
Michael Minton.
Miranda W.
P.D. Devons.
Paul Hicks.
Rick from Jeff and Rick Present.
Rob Morgan.
Samantha Maney.
Sean Urbanski.
Spidey, 67.
Spreadsheet.
Steve Cronin.
Tim Price.
Tony Pennington.
And Toronto Cop.
If we missed anybody on our list, we do apologize. Just please keep in mind that we record these episodes well in advance, so before we release them out. So if you are a recent addition, we should be adding you soon. But still, don't worry about it, man. Just go ahead and send us that email and we'll get it all straightened out. So you might be asking yourself, how do I become a Crusaders Club member? It's simple. Just head on over to patreon.com and search for Longbox Crusade. For as little as $1 a month, you'll get all the access to the amazing world of the Crusaders Club. Come and check it out. And if you want to, you can just leave us a voice message at 707-532-5269. That number again is 707-532-LBOX.
Pick up the phone.
And that will bring us to mission complete status for this episode of G.I. Joe Chronicles. If you'd like to hear more from us in the realm of comic books, action films, vintage TV, movies, serials, and more, check out the entire Longbox Crusade Network. DJ Kristatos, where can they find that?
Well, Jarrod, you can find it on pretty much all the podcatchers out there. Just look for Longbox Crusade and you'll find us. Or go to www.longboxcrusade.com. You can find us on X, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, all at Longbox Crusade. So wherever you are, wherever social media is, go find us. Check us out, like us, and subscribe to us. Back to you, Jarrod.
If you'd like to chat with us online, we can be found at... Back to you, Pat.
I wasn't expecting that, but I'm glad you asked, Jarrod. You can find me on the X at Kristatos01. Jarrod, where can you be found? Back to you.
Oh, I didn't see that coming. I am at Yard Sale Artist on X, Facebook, and Instagram. It is all at Yard Sale Artist. Check out my artwares at www.theyardsaleartist.com. Let's find out where we can find those guests. I will kick it to Matt.
For me, it's same as last time. You can find me at Serpy Matt on pretty much Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, whatever. I pop in and out of them all. So
I can be reached at crosscountriesgirl, all one word, at gmail.com. And I'm also on Facebook as Lissy Paisso.
Thank you all for joining us for this episode of G.I. Joe Chronicles. We will see you on the battlefield next episode, where we will return to our coverage of the 2006 Devil's Due series, G.I. Joe America's Elite. We're going to be looking at issue number 7, called 4th and 20. Until then, platoon, fall out.
Yo, Joe.
The music themes for this show are done by musical genius Joe November. Please check out his SoundCloud at Josephline99. That's Josephline 99. You will not regret it.
So did you have a cake and eat it too?
Havoc
We
cake.
did.
Too.
There's another pic of it cut. to prove its case.
Pat is so proud of his Havoc cake.
I get it.
He's so happy right now.
I am.